Design inspiration, real-life makeovers, and the latest in pop culture. This is the Uploft Interior Design Podcast with Betsy Helmuth.
Hello. It's great to see you guys. See, I'm seeing you in my mind. And if you're seeing me on YouTube, well, you're probably wondering what is up with Betsy's face. And yes, I have a wound above my lip that is not looking so good. It is scabbed over and bloodied. And anyway, I'm recovering just fine, but don't be distracted by the wound above my lip if you're watching this instead of just listening to this. Now, guys, you know that I love to make this podcast half interior design and half pop culture because I'm always watching something, usually while I'm interior designing. While I'm working for a client, I'll have Netflix on in the background or an HBO documentary, and I can really get into it, but also kind of lose myself in the client process. It's just a beautiful synergy. And I have literally been working with TV on in the background ever since my college days, when I would paint with the HGTV shows going on in the background, even though at that time, I don't even know if there was HGTV. It was more on TLC, all the good shows, in my opinion. But anyway, so it's just the way that I kind of create best. Unfortunately, there has been nothing on, like nothing good. Welcome to Plathville wrapped up, and it was such a boring season. Am I right? Oh my gosh. And then, 90 Day Fiancé finished up, and then Love the Other Way. I mean, everything's just so dead for the summer until Married at First Sight is coming back, and so is Project Runway. So in mid-July, I'll have something else to talk about, but it has been really a reality TV show drought, and true crime especially. There's just nothing on. I find myself rewatching episodes of Dateline. Good thing they have like 34 seasons. Speaking of rewatching, I'm going to do the pop culture first today just because I'm on a roll, and then we're going to move into our design topic. But anyway, speaking of watching, did you watch America's Sweethearts, the Dallas Cowboys Cheerleaders season 3 on Netflix? I did. And, last episode, I talked about how I'd watched 3 episodes. Normally, I binge this thing all in one night. Normally, I am so hooked that I can't stop. I stay up till 5 a.m. I watch the sunrise as I finish their season out. This year, it was like pulling teeth trying to get me to finish. This year, the episodes had no momentum. It was as if everybody knew that they were so big and going to be on TV that everyone was kind of on their best behavior, including the producers. They gave us no interesting storylines. I mean, in the past, we've talked about eating disorders. We've talked about stalkers. We've talked about pay increases. They've really kind of delved in to not only the issues surrounding the cheerleaders, but also like the other aspects in terms of getting really specific with the outfit fittings or the sponsorships, or I always love the makeover section, and that they kept, so that's nice. But this year was such a snooze fest. And the main storyline, if you guys have been watching, then you'll know about this. And if you haven't, well, I don't know. The secret's not that exciting, but there is a spoiler alert. So just fast forward like 3 minutes and you'll be fine. But Reese, the kind of star rookie on season 1, I'm sorry. And then season 2, she was on the team. And then season 3, she's back, right? She leaves the team. And they kind of build it up throughout the 7 episodes. And then at the very end, she leaves the team. But they don't even explain why. Like, if that's your big storyline, if that's like the epic finale that we're waiting the last 5 minutes to hear, will she, won't she continue? And then you don't even tell us why. Like, are you setting yourself up for season 4? Is she getting her own reality show? And why not plug it right then and there? I just felt like there was so much juice that could have been squeezed from this orange, but nobody wanted to squeeze it because everybody's trying to save face or something, or everybody's trying to like make a good impression on the camera. And it's just like, get to the underbelly. Tell us what's going on. Now, I don't want these people to get trolled, but I do want something interesting to happen, and you're not going to find it in season three. In fact, do you know what I did? I was so bored just in general, and I had so much design work to do. And I reluctantly, like, just drips and drabs finished season three. So I went back to seasons one and two and fully watched them and was watching for this very reason. Like, what made them so compelling? What made these seasons like unstoppable in terms of watching and ratings? And I think for me, the key was all the different storylines, that they didn't just focus on a couple of key people, but instead they went into the bus driver. He had his own storyline. They went into the families behind the cheerleaders. It just had so many more layers. They did spotlights on alumni, not just moms of current rookies, but really taking a deep dive into the history of the Cowboys and the cheerleaders. There were just so many missed opportunities, and they just crapped out this season, and it showed. I was very disappointed as an avid fan. Maybe you were too. Maybe you had other thoughts. But give us something interesting. Give us some details. Ugh. Like it was all just about how everybody's becoming an influencer and I don't know. Not interesting. So I need some new things to watch. Are you guys watching something that's fascinating? You know what I think I'm going to start getting into, which I'm very late to this moment, but maybe I need to start dipping into RuPaul's Drag Race. I love a good competition show. I love drag queens. It seems like a good fit, but I tried first season like three times and I just really couldn't sink in. But I'm really desperate for some new content. So I'm going to maybe give it a fourth try. If you're watching something fascinating, head over to uploft.com/podcast. Once again, that's uploft.com/podcast. Let me know what you're watching. I need something new until January 12th when Married at First Sight drops with an all new cast and all new experts. I am just twiddling my thumbs over here. Now, full disclosure. I am not twiddling my thumbs. Last night I was up until 4 a.m. working on client projects. Tonight I'll be up till 4 a.m. I have been in the weeds. Let me just give you a snapshot. And then the other thing I'm doing, well, we'll get to that. Okay. So I had two presentations today. I had one presentation yesterday, one presentation the day before that. And you can't source too far in advance because then the items won't be available or the prices may have changed drastically. Something went on sale, something went off sale. So it's really good to do it in the moment. Plus, I work best when there's a deadline. When I've procrastinated just a little bit, I do like a safety zone. I do like a buffer. And with all these reveal calls stacked on top of each other, I haven't been giving myself much of one because I like 2 days to work out a project, no matter how small, in case I want to ruminate on a choice. And I've been giving myself 2 days for the most part, but it's just been back to back. When you think about 2 days, there's just always something to do. So today I presented for an office space and they're only going to be there 3 years. So I was collabing with a furniture company, a commercial furniture company. But the thing is, everything is so expensive. Something I can get for $2,000. Well, I guess with all the components, $4,000 retail at Article. This sort of banquet system for this one breakout room. $26,000 in the commercial furniture. And so basically, I created two presentations for this client. One using exclusively commercial furniture, one using exclusively retail furniture. And then the price disparity was enormous. Not to mention the fact that all the stuff from Article, Pottery Barn, West Elm, Wallism, all of that stuff was available tomorrow. Like it can ship this week. And the commercial stuff was going to take 6 to 8 weeks. And that's relatively quick in terms of commercial timelines. If I had free time, I would reinvent the commercial furniture market because not only do I need to work with the furniture company to find the items because you can't find them online, you can't see all the permutations, you can't see the price points, you can't see the colorways, but also then you have to work with a dealer who purchases the items for you and then manages installation and shipping. So it's just like, do you know what it reminded me of last night as I was hitting my head against a wall because the presentation wasn't just what I needed in some ways? She did beautiful revisions, so it got to the place I needed it to be, but I was frustrated for a bit. It felt like going back to high school when you're working on a team project or a group project, and you know it would be so much easier for you to do it all yourself. Like if you could, if it would be allowed, you would just hunker down, get it done yourself. It would look better, happen faster, and cause you so much less anxiety. And instead, you have to collab with people who have so many factors outside your control. I just can't even get into how frustrating it was. And tonight I'm working on another commercial project. Okay, then I also presented for a client who was super fun. Like she loved color. She's an art curator of sorts. So she has hundreds of pieces of art for her wall that are deeply special and meaningful. She wanted to go crazy. She was just like, I want it to be so out there. I want you to pick wallpaper that's insane. I want you to really take some huge leaps. And so I was trying to tone her down a little bit. I was saying, we need to keep it sophisticated. We need to keep it designerly. We can definitely take some big swings, but for the most part, I want us to be mindful that there's going to be hundreds of pieces of art on this wall that are all sorts of different themes and colors and patterns and energies. So maybe we want to tone things down to make that art and other very special selections shine. Anyway, I presented to her today and she said I went too insane, too colorful, too over the top, and she was disappointed that it wasn't more sophisticated and subdued. Wow, guys, wow. Wow. So there's some revisions happening there, but all in a day's work. Now, speaking of my day's work, you heard me say that I'm staying up till 4 a.m. working on these presentations, which is completely true. But you're like, Betsy, what are you doing during the day? I am training a new designer. So a new designer in New York City, and she has been amazing. She asks the best questions. She's so thorough doing her homework. She's already been to architecture school and she teaches architectural software. So she's really ahead of the curve, but she's also just a very quick learner and she really studies, like she does her homework, which I think is so admirable because after years of training people, whether it's in my Uploft Interior Design Academy or whether it is for my firm, you just don't meet students like this every day. So what I thought would be fun is to run some of the questions she asked me during training by you guys, because whether you're wanting to be an interior designer, whether you're curious about taking clients, or whether you're just designing for yourselves, these questions can really unlock some things. A lot of the questions she was asking are quite outside the box and things I don't cover in other ways or haven't talked about on the podcast. So let's get into it. This first batch of questions, basically I've batched the questions into different themes and I'll go over them in the next several episodes because they're just so insightful and interesting. So the first batch of questions we're going to cover today is client communication. So we're talking about as she's thinking about taking her first clients or talking about my client experiences, she had some questions because while she's been in the design world for many years in terms of architecture, she's never taken her very own clients before. So let's dig in. She asks, how do I get clients to tell me what they really want if they're being vague? Well, first of all, that question is a little bit vague. But there's two approaches. So what they really want could mean what they need in terms of function of the space, what they want to do in the space. And of course, we have them fill out a questionnaire. But when I'm asking them questions about the questionnaire, so for instance, they put, I don't like reds and blues, but I love greens and pastels. Okay. I need a workspace that has room for 2 large monitors and a hard drive and a printer. Well, does it all have to go there on the desk or could it go beside? So my favorite phrase, whether I'm trying to get a client to open up or even my teenagers, is tell me more. Tell me more. I see you don't like red and blue. Tell me more. Because then we can really get to the heart of it. Like, actually, I don't mind some shades of blue. I just don't like royal blue. Oh, okay. Actually, I hate red and I wouldn't want to see any red in the space. Okay, great. And I also forgot to mention I hate orange. Oh, good to know. So that's one thing. The next thing is with their inspiration pictures. So clients really need to send us inspiration pictures because unlike high-end designers where the clients adapt to the designer's style, in this world, in Uploft Interior Design's world, where we're doing affordable designs with clients who have lower end budgets, we adapt to their preferences. So I need to see those pictures. I need to know what they want their spaces to look like. And I also need to know if they don't know what they want their spaces to look like. I had a client the other day who said, Betsy, I looked all over the internet. I couldn't find one space I like. How am I supposed to find or create a space you like if you can't find it with all these images, whether they're AI created or real high-end images from magazines? So anyway, if they're being vague with the inspiration pictures, I ask them specific questions. Tell me what you love about this picture. Tell me what you hate about this picture. If they're still being vague, I'll point out some things that pop to me or through lines from several of their pictures. Like, I see you're not using hardly any color, but you said you're open to color. Now, is it just because you couldn't find pictures with the colors you like, or is it because really after looking at imagery, you don't want too much color? So I'll ask some leading questions. They'll answer with yes, no, that one, and then I'll say, tell me more. All right, how many follow-up questions are too many questions after the client fills out the questionnaire? So yes, we do have a questionnaire that we make all of our clients fill out. If you're in the Uploft Interior Design Academy, you see the questionnaire. Also, we're constantly evolving this questionnaire. So the questions that I asked clients even 2 years ago are different than the questions I'm asking them now. I cap the questionnaire to only 20 questions, which can feel very overwhelming to some clients. But the key is that when I'm meeting with a client, I pick the 40 to 60% of their form that I have additional questions about. And there's a large fraction of the form I don't even talk about. And it changes from client to client depending on the answers. So I try to just stick to the questionnaire because it's a very helpful tool and the inspiration picks. And between those two things, I have everything I need to know pretty much. So my questions really only happen within the questionnaire in this tell me more format. And I try to spend, when I'm working with clients in person, no more than 5 to 10 minutes reviewing the questionnaire. So I've looked at it ahead of time. I've laser focused on the things I want to talk about, and I really stick to my system and watch the clock so that the appointment doesn't get too inflated with conversation that's not ultimately going to be helpful to me because I've already evaluated the questionnaire and know where I need to learn more. How do I ask deeper questions of the client without making them feel like I didn't read their form? Well, one thing I do to help my clients feel assured that I've read their form is that the night before or a couple hours before the appointment, I print it out and I mark it up. So I've already outlined the questions I'm going to be asking about. And then generally in the client appointment, I make sure to use a different color pen. You know my favorite pens. Oh no, I moved my pencil cup, but they're the Pentel Energel pens, and they come in packs of 18 different colors. And so I always have 4 colors floating in my backpack. And I make sure to use 2 different tones. So if they're ever wondering, did Betsy prepare? Did she look in advance? If they're looking over my shoulder as I'm talking to them, they're going to see that pen color and notice that I'm using a different one. And I don't know. Like, is this just a huge story I made up in my very own head? But in that way, they understand that I'm familiar. Next question, how do I identify the actual problem in a room instead of just solving the obvious ones? Well, that's why we have a very important question in our questionnaire that's saying, why are you seeking help from a designer? And we ask for 3 reasons. That's the most important thing in the entire questionnaire. And the reason is because these are the 3 reasons why they called us. And if I don't solve these 3 things by the end of my design experience with them, a lot of clients say bad lighting, not enough seating, not enough storage for toys and books. Okay, so let's just say those are the problems because they're three of the most popular problems. If I don't solve those problems, if I don't make sure that space is well lit, if I don't make sure that their company has room to sit and put a drink or a snack down, if I don't make sure that there's storage in those spaces, they are ultimately going to be unhappy with this experience. And if I hit those three pain points, completely solve them, knock it out of the park, I'm going to have a happy client. All right, last question. How do I test the waters with a client when suggesting bigger changes? Oh my gosh, I just did something horrible this week. Okay. You know, guys, I am a straight shooter. I tell it like it is, and that is no different with clients. When I'm working with a client, I'm like keeping it real and putting all my ideas out there when I think I would be helpful. I was working with this client in New Jersey the other day. She was wonderful. And she was very inspiring. First of all, she has a ton of art that she deeply cares about. She has a really cool eye for design, but she almost likes too many things, so it gets muddied. Also, she didn't have strategic floor plans for her furniture, so the layout didn't feel right, even though she's selecting beautiful pieces and has amazing, meaningful art, which is such a rare thing to have. And another thing is that she's going through cancer treatment and she just wants a place to feel really safe and cozy for her healing. And it's one of my favorite parts of the job is knowing that the work you're doing is making a huge impact and going to help to heal somebody, going to be a place where they feel safe, where they can convalesce, where they can relax and really recharge. So I'm excited to create the perfect space. And of course, I said something horrible. We're in the bedroom. We're trying to decide what piece to use as the inspiration piece. We're trying to pick a picture that's going to be right in the entry. So when she walks into the space or when anyone walks into the space, they're going to instantly recognize the color palette and have a strong thematic kind of understanding. There was this amazing piece of art next to her bed that was kind of in this throwaway location of a peacock. And it had like a large gold frame. The sizing was ideal. So I say to her, how about this piece? And she says, oh, I'm so glad you picked that piece. I really love this piece. It was hanging in my parents' bedroom and it was right by their door. And every time I walked into their room, I would see that painting. And I'm like, oh no, we can't use it now. And I said, well, I don't typically use pictures or quilts or anything that reminds me of family members in my bedroom because that's my private sanctuary or my sanctuary with my partner. And so anything that reminds me of my parents or my family or even like strangers, anybody I wouldn't want to make out with, I don't love to have in my bedroom. She did not respond well to that. She was like, but I really like it and I really want to use it right there. I instantly dropped it. Yes, that's a philosophy of mine. Yes, I feel strongly about that. I jumped all the way into that tidal pool without kind of testing the waters, being a little bit more diplomatic. I hope now every time she walks into her bedroom, she's not thinking about what I said. And I don't think she will be because she was so adamant that she didn't care what I had said. But yes, there are times, especially because when I meet with clients, I only meet with them for a couple of hours. So I have a very short window of time to guide them, to get to know them. So sometimes I stick my foot in my mouth, and sometimes oh my gosh, client the week before that, client on the Upper West Side. She had kids. She wanted the living room to do 16 different functions. It was not possible. The living room was so overburdened. It was hard to move. There was just so much furniture and so many things she needed to do, from keyboard to toddler area to media storage to dining area to entry storage to comfortable seating for 4 to 6 to whatever, all in one room. Did I mention dining for 4 to 6 as well? Toy storage. I'm sure I'm forgetting something. I said the keyboard. Anyway, this room was overburdened. And she's like, yeah, but I need my son to have a space. And right now he's sharing a room with his sister. And so he's really compromised. So I looked at her primary bedroom, even though I was only there to do the living room. And her primary bedroom was so large, I was like, why don't we divide this into two and put you in the smaller kid's bedroom? And then he would have his own space and we wouldn't have to carve out like a separate room for him, essentially, in the living room. Oh man, Betsy, when somebody calls you to design one room, stick to that room, girl. She was not asking me to upset the apple cart, and this poor mom just wanted her own sanctuary, and I was taking it away. It did not go over well. So, am I the person to ask about testing the waters? Absolutely not. But I will say, when you've realized you've crossed a line, which I did in both scenarios, the number one thing you do is you immediately drop it. I drop it. I never mentioned either of those things again during either of those appointments. I just completely got on board with their suggestion. Like, yes, that art is going to be perfect. I'm really excited about the color palette. Yes, we can definitely carve out a space for him in here. I could see a space here or there, or maybe we just need to move the couch away from the sofa and he can hang out behind. I mean, I was tap dancing to figure this one out. But you just drop it and you just move on because you realize that you have offered a solution that is not workable for the client. And I don't take any of it personally. I really want clients to believe in my philosophies and to like my ideas and see value in even some crazy brainstorms. But sometimes they don't. And then I need to pivot real fast. All right, everybody. Speaking of pivoting real fast, if you're working on something and you want to get my unfiltered opinion, if you're ready for a Betsy Smackdown, or if you just want to hear my thoughts on your parents' artwork in your bedroom, all you have to do is head over to uploft.com/podcast. Once again, uploft.com/podcast. You'll fill out a quick form letting me know what you're working on, and you'll be featured on an upcoming episode. Until next week, bye. A big thanks to our producer, Jeremy Young, and to Aton and the Embassy for our theme music. And shout out to our parent company, Uploft Interior Design, your trusted source for expert interior design. Visit uploft.com to explore our services and book a consultation with one of our talented designers. If you're enjoying the Uploft Interior Design Podcast, please support us by sharing the show with friends and leaving a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen. It's the best way to help new listeners find us. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next week with more pro tips and pop culture dish.